I was listening to Buddy Rich and his band, and all of a sudden I saw dots dancing on top of plexiglass. I was on the beach and I saw something come in on a wave, and I thought I'd be the first human being to touch this piece of nature. And when I saw that it was a torso of a doll, I laughed and said, someday it will be part of a sculpture. A year later, I started creating found object sculptures. Really exciting to have you and Dad always with me. Every exhibit always shared the work of hanging it. You were always there with me. I loved pushing the plexiglass, but then allowing it a chance to find its own most graceful position before I stopped it. I'm real excited about having my art in shopping centers. I think, strangely enough, that I forget that my work is out there and that there's so many people every day in contact with my work. When I do remember that, it's a thrilling thought. I went into the grade schools and spoke to all the 8th graders about my sculpture and asked them to engrave their names on the stars. Once I had become a sculptor, it was rare for me to paint, but every once in a while I did, and most often my circle was present. I remember through the years of working on sculpture, and I would be struggling with the physical efforts of working with materials and involvement and pain sometimes, and I'd stop and remember the sheer joy of painting, and I'd say, what kind of nut am I to give up that joy of painting? But I never doubted that I was doing the right thing. It was just funny to realize the contrast between spontaneously and joyously putting paint down on canvas and struggling with the physical demands of being a sculptor. In 1952, I wanted some drawings to go over our bed, and I put my doodles on good drawing paper. It was an arabesque dancing line, and I didn't have the maturity, the sophistication to just leave that line alone and let it just be a beautiful line. I suppose, was embarrassed to just put a beautiful line up on the wall. So in order to justify the existence of that line, I added a face and hands and shoes and even sequins to match the bedspread in the room. 23 years later, I made this sculpture from a spontaneous drawing. It was then I realized my doodles were the essence of me. So I started buying stacks of drawing pads and pouring out drawings, page after page after page. As these lines danced from my hands, I believed that they were related to the trees that I drew as a child. I always drew trees, and I always felt each branch as it grew up from the roots. This was the first of my spontaneous drawings that I turned into sculpture. From this time, everything that I would create would come from the spontaneous drawing. This is Nessie, about which I also have written a children's book.